Hey, what's up, Silas here. I'm going to explain this little comic strip. It's going to be kind of the meme whisperer thing where I put up a meme and then I kind of talk about the things that I'm thinking that are going behind this thing. And this is not going to be a meme, this is going to be a comic strip. But just like people say the left can't meme, and I've talked about how I think the left can meme. Things like Black Lives Matter, Me Too, and things like that are memes because they're not necessarily based on reality. They're supposed to convey a certain idea using certain imagery. And I think it's more like LARPing memes, like acting out memes. They're more, I think, dramatic and things like that. Whereas people on the right are more just like, hey, conservative is going to write things, draw things like that. So anyway, so this could kind of count as a meme. I don't know. It's a comic. I've taken too much time kind of explaining that. So I'm going to put it up on the screen now, explain it to those who are not actually seeing this. This is from the New York Times opinion Twitter page, and it says, what are the president's priorities? And then the image is Donald Trump pointing towards the sign that says border to Mexico. Then there's some American troops lined there with their guns, American flag. And then one of them says, I enrolled to fight in the Middle East, not the midterms. So a few things on this. First of all, why are they being sent to the border to Mexico? There's 4,000. When I first heard the story, I've heard numbers going as high as 17,000. It keeps fluctuating, of people in a caravan coming from South America, mostly Honduras, coming up through. Right now they're in Mexico, and they're coming towards the U.S. border, and they're trying to get into the country. In some of the most absurd things that I've heard recently, okay, not the most absurd, but a rather absurd thing I heard recently, some immigration lawyers in the United States of America have sued, I think, Donald Trump or people in the administration on behalf of this caravan for violating their constitutional rights, even though these people are clearly not actually under the jurisdiction of the United States of America or U.S. citizens. That's what the Constitution applies to. How are you going to sue them? Anyway, and then related to the whole situation, Donald J. Trump recently talked about how we should take away birthright citizenship because it's it's kind of an absurd thing. Now, does it really apply anymore? Now, one good thing about this, which is another good thing that I've supported about Donald J. Trump, is he gets people talking, gets people focused, gets people actually focused on issues. Before, people would stand back and like, oh, I'm not going to talk about that. Now they're kind of focused on this. So now people are talking about what exactly does the Constitution say? A lot of people who before are saying with like the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, that needs to be changed. It's a living document. Now they're saying, no, it says exactly in the Constitution that you have to give people birthright citizenship. So you can't take that away. You can't just write things away with executive orders. Yet when Barack Obama was like, I got a pen, I got a phone, and I'm going to just use that and get the ball rolling. People are like, oh yeah, that's okay. That's our Obama. That's our Obeezy. So anyway, when you have this kind of situation, and I'll come back to the whole Obama connection here again, because there is something related to this. So when you come with that situation, people are talking about that. Somebody else did a post talking about, oh, if you're going to take away birthright citizenship, Ivanka Trump and Eric Jr., if I'm not mistaken, he needs to have their citizenship taken away since their mother wasn't a citizen until years after they were born. And someone's like, yeah, let's also add Melania in there. She wasn't Melania Trump, First Lady Melania Trump. Let's add her in there and take away Barron's citizenship because she wasn't citizen until 4 months after he was born. Completely ignoring the fact that their father, President Donald J. Trump, was an American citizen the whole time. So, birthright citizenship, which is applying to people who are under the jurisdiction. And so that's neither here nor there. But so why are they being sent to the troop? Why are they being sent to the border? Because these people are coming in illegally. And now when I was talking about this whole situation with the immigration thing, I was talking about the way it's written in there, subject to the jurisdiction of the United States of America. If you're subject to the jurisdiction of the United States of America and you enter illegally, you should be arrested immediately or deported immediately. If you are an asylum seeker, are you the same as a diplomat, which is a situation where you're not subject to the actual laws. So a diplomat having a kid in the United States of America, two diplomats, they are not going to be considered American because they're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States of America. So if these people are asylum seekers, then all the kids they have shouldn't be subject to United States of America's rules and the Constitution and that whole situation. But some of these people are violent. They've already been shown throwing rocks at troops in Mexico, security forces in Mexico. And Donald J. Trump came out and said, oh, if these people start throwing rocks, the military that's been sent there is actually going to defend themselves. Now, he didn't say exactly how they're going to defend themselves, but the New York Times recently reported that the Nigerian army was dealing with some protesters in Ajuba, the capital of Nigeria, and they decided to shoot at these people after these people started throwing rocks and things like that. They killed a bunch of them, and then they posted on their social media. Someone in the Nigerian military was posting and saying, oh yeah, they just posted the video of Donald Trump and saying, oh, say what you will, just paraphrasing, say what you will about this. And I know the New York Times posted the headline was something like, Nigerian army kills protesters because of what Donald J. Trump said. Now, they stated that it's just complete reporting. So in that kind of situation, I'm not against what they said. It's kind of a clickbaity title, yet it is kind of direct journalism. And people aren't really against direct journalism. Because you look at the things like James O'Keefe are doing Project Veritas, where he has people embedded in actual democratic offices. And I don't know, how do these people get in? Is it just because they just don't really care about vetting people anymore? They're not really about merit, so they just kind of let anyone in there. But these people are just so loose with the things that they say. So I think it was somebody running for the midterm election. I don't want to say it was a Beto guy, but somebody in their campaign was found talking about them using actual funds to send to this migrant caravan to bring them in. So this thing has been politicized majorly across the board on both sides. So this kind of pretending like, oh, the president's priorities are towards this, they should be somewhere else. Now, another thing in this situation, they talk about, I enrolled to fight in the Middle East. What do they mean enrolled? You don't join the military just like you're joining school. You're applying to a bunch of schools, and then when you join these different schools, like the schools accept you or you get denied, then you're like, okay, you pick your school, you enroll, you go in, then you're like, when you're there, I'm like, I'm going to pick this major and study these kind of things. Oh, you can't tell me what major to do. That's not how the military works. I mean, for the express reason, first of all, you enlist into the military. Second of all, the main purpose of the military is to defend, at least ostensibly, is to defend the country that you live in. So when they go into this one, I enrolled to fight in the Middle East. It's not okay to go to the border to defend your border from people coming in, but it's preferable to go to somebody else's country in the Middle East and shoot Arabs in their own borders. Is that what they're kind of saying here? What's the character that they have of the military, of people who join the military? I would say most people listening to the New York Times are not the sort of people who are enlisted in the military. I would not be surprised if you have a high percentage of military people not listening to this. So most of the people are the people who go to college, so maybe it's just trying to relate and say it's just like enrolling. And I do know a few people who join the military in order to get money for college in that kind of situation, and then they get tied up in this thing. But you have certain expectations when you join the military and things like that. So I just thought this was kind of interesting, a bunch of different things in here. And coming back to that Obama thing, as I mentioned, what do people think of the Nigerian army? Don't they not realize that these people are going to do bad things anyway? Do they think when Michelle Obama was like, bring back our girls, that's what got the people? The Nigerian army was sitting around and like, okay, these 200 Chibok girls got taken away by these militants, and we're not going to do anything. But now that Michelle Obama went out there and put this sign, now that the Americans have said that, that's what's going to get us to actually go out there and get these girls back. Otherwise, we weren't going to do that. And I do understand that countries have influence. People have influence in the things that they say and they do. But Donald J. Trump did not say, we're going to shoot these people and kill them for doing this. It could be rubber bullets, it could be smoke weapons, it could be sound things, it could be all kinds of different ways of doing this thing, of stopping this kind of caravan of coming in. But let's see what happens. They're getting closer and closer to the border. The midterm elections in the United States are coming up. This is a politicized situation. It's not going to get better before it gets worse, but I do think it is going to get better. And like, share, and subscribe. Goodbye. So two things in this video that kind of go together, the pen and the sword. The pen is mightier than the sword, or whatever. The press, the military, the First Amendment, Second Amendment, freedom of speech, right to bear arms. Why do people want these things? Why would you enlist into the military? Why would you join the press when you think the military is needed for this situation, force is needed in this situation, when you think we need to actually expose and talk about these kind of situations? Is it for defense? Is it for attack? What is your purpose for doing these things? What kind of places do you think are actually appropriate to do these things? What is good, appropriate investigative journalism? What is good press? What is bad military? What is an abuse of military power? These are things that kind of go together, and I think a lot of times you find them in this relationship, in this symbiotic type of relationship, or this yin and yang kind of thing? Can you have one without the other? Can you really have the ability to go out there and say whatever you want to say if you are under military threat? Can you really be able to defend what you're going to say, or identify who should actually be considered an enemy or protected if you don't really have access to the accurate kind of information? So I think these two things go together, very important to kind of know and understand. And goodbye.